Give me the thumbs up and we'll start us off. Before we start, just a quick note. With the microphones, we got to make sure we're talking clearly and that we're not stepping over each other's voice for this today as best as possible. So if you do want to say something, do that raise hand feature on Zoom and us in here, and we'll try to make it as ordered as possible. Otherwise, we can't do this. So, okay, let's call the meeting to order, please. Start with approval of the agenda, introduction of late items.
We have supporting material for item number 5.2, revised case for the coordinator.
Okay.
And also a piece of the budget book to support that
Okay, thank you.
discussion.
Anything else? Okay, move to approve the agenda as amended. Thank you, Judy. Seconds. Thank you, Jillian. All right, we're all in favor?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, adoption of the minutes from last time, please.
I'll move adoption.
Okay, anybody second?
Thanks
again, Jillian. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you kindly. Okay, moving right along. Awesome. All right, public comments. Anybody here today would like to speak?
No members.
We have no members. All right, we'll carry on then. Updates 4.1. Lee and Jillian, please.
Okay, construction update. Things are moving slowly, but they are moving. So as if you've driven by, you've seen all the landscape work that is going on, all the shaping of the space. The pavers are in the courtyard. It looks really quite nice. So it looks good that way. That we passed a couple of milestones with life safety, integrated life safety and life safety testing has been passed, which is great. Partial paving has been completed, so that's mostly the paving that's on site, but that's going to be done in this phase anyways. What else? The septic system is working, which is a big boon. So that's been submitted to Vancouver Coastal Health, waiting on those approvals. Electrical inspection is passed. So things are going. Things to look forward to is currently the occupancy inspection has been scheduled for February 13th, which is when the main inspector will come through the building to see whether or not we get occupancy. If there are any deficiencies, that we get the return visit is on the 18th. So that would put our potential move dates for BIM at March 7th to 9th. So it'll be over a weekend. We'll be moving everything we can out of here over that weekend. And then
Besides the potential, I think.
things may shift a little bit. The final AV install and instruction is currently scheduled. No, you're good. The final AV install and inspection or instruction training was currently scheduled for around February 21st. So they might have to do some install and then there'll be training after that. 21st, not first, pardon me, February 21st. And then after we get occupancy, we'll be, moving forward with installing the theater lighting, wayfinding, signage, things like that. And then also during that time, there'll be possibly some paving and then the non-occupancy related deficiencies. So it's getting close. There are dates that feel relatively solid, more solid than they have before.
Yeah.
Exciting. It's great. We've taken some community members to the space. Did a tour with Gail and some other community members, which went really well, I think. So it's very exciting.
The living room furniture arrives tomorrow, which is very exciting. I'll have to put it in a different room temporarily. But that's a big step too. So the doors are something to sit on.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Question for you about the AV instruction. So that's instructing you?
Yeah.
Do you have anybody else lined up for instruction, or is it just to you and then you do stuff for us later?
So there's a possibility that James may, if it works with his schedule, may come for that. AV instruction. But
Sorry, James is.
Sherry Ulrich's son.
He's the production, he's the
Yeah.
technical director of the Chan Center.
Oh,
And he's the person that we put into our grant, the infrastructure grant, to help make sure all systems are operational for Lee when he begins to take new technicians in for orientation.
yeah, so that'll happen later.
That will happen out. Yeah.
Judy, Councilor Getty, sorry.
Once we get occupancy, remind me again, I've heard this several times. I'm sorry to get you to repeat it, but how long before we can open for public productions? A month?
Is that in current?
Weeks?
Oh, productions, sorry?
Yeah. Events.
Really set a specific date, so we're
A month after staff go in? Or after occupancy? Is that too fast?
would hesitate to.
I think it would have to be slightly longer than that because we need 3 weeks for the move. So we can't schedule the move till 3 weeks after we have that date. And then I think we all have to be in there a little bit and use the equipment and get to know it a little bit. So it seems a little scary to put an actual number of weeks post occupancy because there are the issue, you know, there are things related to working in the space that aren't occupancy related, remaining challenges, not big ones necessarily, but it's really hard to put an actual number to that. But I'd say it has to be maybe a month after we move in is realistic.
All right, so we get occupancy, there's 3 weeks for the move and then a month after that. So that's like almost 2 months.
For production, maybe that's a safe.
So we're talking May 1st.
April.
April, yeah, April-ish.
All right. Thank you.
I think we'll all do everything we can to shorten that window. I think it's just, it's so hard. We keep setting dates and that.
Yeah, of course.
Things.
We all know by now that this is very much in flux. So.
We all work better to deadlines though too. So, you know, if we're trying to start to set something up, then, you know, if the earliest possible date would be May the 1st, whether that's, you know, the party or there is a long weekend in May. So whether that's, you know, some sort of a soft opening or whatever, but, you know, if that's what we're aiming for, it's good to have that in mind, assuming that we get occupancy.
And maybe maybe we were to say, assuming that we're successful on the 13th or the 18th. Yeah, maybe then we can.
Yep.
Pull that back a bit and put some kind of time. Sorry, I lost thought exactly what I was saying, but
Yeah.
Great, okay.
Okay.
Anything else on
Getting real.
the construction side of things here? Before we move on to the hearth. Oh, yeah.
Can you repeat the AV install date? I wrote it down wrong.
Sure, sorry, I said it wrong, so I apologize. So I think it's February 21st is when they're coming back to complete. So there are some things that have not been installed yet. And then they plan to train either that day, depending on how the day goes, or shortly after the day.
thank you.
Okay, let's carry on to the hearth update 4.2. Jamie and Gail, please.
Sure. We had our first in-person board meeting, board meeting last week with our four new board members. I can announce them now because they've been accepted. Simon Hatfield, Ann Murphy, Sarah Isley, and Cam Stevens. Happy to have them join the team.
Great.
Now we have 12 people on our board and a fantastic cross-section of skills and passions and it's really a very well-rounded board. Very excited. Jamie Nesbitt also joined as the new chair, taking over from Rob Bloor. The executive is Jamie Nesbitt as chair, Jay Pollard as treasurer, Sherry Ulrich as the secretary, and Paul Valley as the vice chair. So very exciting times. There's a lot of enthusiasm for the next stages of the Hearth and our partners. Yeah, where there was also setting up subcommittees, working committees within the board, and everyone jumped in and put their hands up. So very exciting. A good distribution of work. We also hired our new marketing specialist. Her name is Angel Spendlove. She'll take over from Kathleen Ainscough. She's already hit the ground running. Lots of ideas. And she's young and very hip and loves the arts. So we're really thrilled to have her join. She is my angel. She's great to work with. I'm very happy with the candidates that came forward, and we were really happy with Angel to join the team. The live arts coordinator, we should be offering the position in the next day or two. We can't announce that right yet. We did have 4 very strong candidates, and it was a tough decision, but we're very close to doing that. What else? I think that's it for you.
Yeah.
I think.
And then the only other 2 things that, thank you for adding these to the list, just to report that the Canadian Arts Presentation Fund, which was listed in the document that we're going to be discussing for the rest of this meeting. We finally will be eligible for application in September 2025. And this has been something we've discussed and have been ramping towards since the inception of the JMC. And so it's exciting to see that as long as the facility opens and the Hearth is able to present each of the shows on the docket, we will be in a position of eligibility. If we do not present those shows, except one of them, we will not be eligible because of the prerequisites of presenting history that we would face, that we all face. And then that would be September for the following September 2026 as a start date. BC Arts Council Infrastructure Grant, this was included only to say that this is a grant that's basically financing all expenses related to the theater. And we are waiting to hear with bated breath for more or less the same time as the dates that Lee presented. February 13th, 18th, 21st, in and around then, we should be hearing. And if we do get the funding, it would pay for some AV inventory, like more microphones, lighting components. This technical director from the Chan, James, to come as a outside consultant to support Lee in the setup of the theater, to make it sure that it's functioning well. And that he will help create a manual for use of our technical components. And that's going to be critical because of the contract nature of who will be working the technical components on shows. And support for building out the green room and the dressing. So fingers crossed for that one.
When's the date?
We don't know. It's usually 3 to 4 months after, so we're hoping that February.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay, carrying on. Appreciate it. Unless we have any questions.
No, just congratulations on that eligibility with the Canadian Arts Presentation Fund. I think that's big.
Yes.
Yeah, that's huge. Great.
Thank you.
Councillor Getty has got her hand up.
Thanks. So Gail, if I can just clarify that. So, if there's 4 shows produced, before September 25th, then we're eligible for the funding in September 26th?
If ours, I'm sorry, but I'm not sure by when those need to be presented. But the shows are booked through to the end of June, and I believe it might need to be by the end of June, but I'm not sure, and I'm sorry about that. I could go back and look at those requirements, and I could even do it on my computer. But what they need to be is professional shows where all of the artists are being paid professional wages. And one of them needs to be from outside of British Columbia, which we were able to add to our docket because of that requirement. And I'm not sure, I'll look at the dates they need to be presented by. And we are then eligible to apply September 2025. And if we're successful, it would be for a season running September 2026 and through to the end of June 2027.
Okay. So if they have to be booked, that's different than actually completing the production.
No, we have to have presented
Okay.
them.
And do
Yeah.
they have to be presented in the space?
Why can't I get you? Sorry.
So if we're not booking things until May the 1st at the very earliest, if they have to be presented by June, then I'm not sure that we could figure out how to get them all done before
Can you
June.
explain why May 1st is too late?
Yeah, I think May 1st is a little bit longer. So even if it was a month after occupancy, that would put us March 20th, like mid-March. And the feeling is it's going to be pretty much all hands on deck to get that space running as best as it can. So I think there's a little bit more time in there than May. I'd say April is likely a time that it could be done.
We also are required, because we had funding from the Touring Council to present these four for sure. Yeah. And we have the money, so we have to present them.
Yes, I get that, but it's the timing in terms of whether we can present them. Do they all have to be in that space? And I think we have to coordinate those timelines and be clear and do everything we can to help make sure that happens, right?
Well, if we do want to go into this, the date that we have, the first date that I'm not concerned about is April 26th. And that is the Don Pemberton Blues Band. And so fingers crossed, if occupancy by the 18th is secured, I think that Don Pemberton on April 26th is a pretty good, certainty. Then on May 10th, we have Anya Sogstead Curious Grace Dance Theater, which is a dance production. And then on June 21st, we have a Dene company called River Journey, and they Dechow River's Journey, and that would be on June 21st. So all we would need to do to fulfill our requirements for this grant is to take Ian Parker from March 30th and pepper him into one of those two spaces between those three productions, and we would fulfill our mandate. But the better solution.
Sorry, it's Kim here. I'm just trying to unmute, see my picture. I'm quite familiar with the Heritage Program, Arts Presentation Canada, and you don't have to have completed the activity by the deadline, but you have to have completed it by the time of what you call your fiscal year. And so if our fiscal year was going through until from say December to December, some people do that, then it could, the activity could happen after the deadline for submission, as long as it was before the grant was being reviewed. But they have a 9-month turnaround period. So you have a couple of months after the deadline in order to complete your activity. So from my understanding, if it happened in the fall, even though the deadline was September, like it happened in October, it would still be considered eligible because they go by the what the organization determines as their fiscal year or their
Our fiscal-
operational year.
Our fiscal ends at the end of June.
Yeah, but you could, when you're doing Heritage Canada, they're looking at your season, not necessarily your fiscal year, what your season is, right? It's how you present your quote unquote season, because some organizations go from January to January as their season, and some organizations go from September until June as their season. So
Okay.
it would, anyway, that's just a little more context.
Thank you. And Kim, thank you for that. And I will, with that in mind, I will scour this response from Canadian Heritage more carefully. What you are referring to would be the requirements for eligibility year to year for eligible candidates. But to be eligible for your very first time, you might have needed to complete
Sorry, you
presentations.
just, yeah, you just cut in and out a bit. Sorry.
Okay, so
Sorry, Councilor Getty.
if I can suggest,
I can have a chat with Gail about this
Yes,
offline,
yeah,
separate from this.
Perfect.
let's just make sure we've got, if we need to sort and try to help sort some things out right at the very beginning, because that potentially could be tight, then that would be really good to get some wiggle room, if that's possible. So, yeah, thanks. I think that's a good idea for Kim to chat and help.
Gail, when was this dance theater group date?
May 10th.
May 10th. And then Ian Parker will be unknown. So you know our Theater on the Isle dates that we're hoping for Dancing at Lunasa in June. You've got those?
Well, we have the dates you said.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do some wiggling with everything.
Let's talk. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
yeah. Because your dates were either late May or early June.
Well, what we've done, we've actually got dates now. that
Okay, well,
we'd
you
like,
just
but
send
we'll
those to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We have not
Yes.
planned around yours because your dates right now were bookended by a few
Yeah.
weeks.
We've got dates. So, okay. All right. Anything else on that one? No, good to move on. Okay, 5.1, community center staffing responsibilities. Tasks and roles spreadsheet.
Right, Steph, are you gonna share screen? Thank you. So Jamie and I were tasked with cleaning up this spreadsheet. Consolidating where there might be notifications and removing the live arts coordinator from the spreadsheet because that's a temporary 5-month position, contracted position. So this was sent out to everybody a week ago-ish, something like that. So we have, if there's any final revisions that anyone would like to do, now's the time. And then otherwise, maybe we actually or the recommendation, we accept this as a group, is that?
Feel like an internal recommendation saying that you.
Was there any component of it that anyone wished to discuss? Councilor. Councilor Getty?
Oh, go for it. This has changed on me here. Can't see it. Councilor Getty?
Thanks. If I find this, it's really, really, really good, and I find that it's nicely blocked out and things sorted out in terms of where they belong on the list. If I could ask for another column so that each of these lines has a number, so that if there's a question that arises, it can be on number 16 or number 27 or something like that. So just something maybe on the far left, just another little tiny column that has numbers in some sort of order. That might help with the discussion. And I don't know how to finagle things, but it's very tiny. So like this is like a 0.2 font or something. I don't know. And that is going to be a problem in terms of, it's better if it's broken and put onto enlarged and somehow put onto 2 pages, maybe even if it's landscape on a longer sheet, or somehow or other get it so that it's legible. But I think that it's excellent for what we need to put across. It's a nice, big, long list, and it's well thought out and detailed and divided up. And, I think that it's going to help the discussions very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
That's an easy addition, I think.
We've worked on this a long
We've
time, and
worked
you've
on
done
this.
a lot on this too, so thank
Well,
you.
this is so many hours of our work coming together.
Yeah.
Shocking number of hours.
And thank you to both of you for
Mhm.
getting that.
Yeah.
It's really
Detailing,
impressive.
yeah, that's great.
I think this is all us, so,
It's excellent.
yeah. So should we do, sort of you're saying sort of an internal recommendation that we
I think
we
so.
approve this?
That the Community Center Joint Management Committee approve the staffing task spreadsheet as presented and amended at its February 3rd, 2025 meeting.
Mhm,
Does that work?
mhm.
Mhm.
Any concerns with that, anybody?
I'll second it.
We need a mover.
We need a mover first.
Oh.
Councilor Getty, would you like to move it?
Well, I can move it. I'll move it. Kim Sullivan.
Thank you, Kim.
Sure. Yeah, thanks.
Seconded by Councilor Getty. Okay, we do a vote. All right, I see everybody's hands. Oh, did Lee? No, he's,
You're voting the
yes,
positive.
he's, okay, we're good. Thank you kindly.
Absolutely.
You voted.
The vote here.
Oh, this is true,
Oh,
right, of course, that's what I
staff
thought. Yes.
resource.
Okay. Okay.
Somebody walking around. Fair enough.
Okay, our next bit is 5.2 business case presentation to council for budget consideration. Councilor Jude Getty.
All right. Did everybody get a chance to read my morning email that had I revised different from what came out in the agenda?
Yep.
That was, I think, the late item that Steph was referring to. So,
So it's, you
This
have
guy
a
right
printout of it and where it's been emailed. Yeah. I will put it on the screen as well.
it starts with the Joint Management Committee has examined in detail. And,
I don't see that part.
oh, the very first paragraph.
Oh, sorry, this one. Yeah, no, I've got that one. Sorry.
Okay, and then attached is the list, and that's the one that we've just approved. Is the start of the second paragraph. So, when I look at this, what I haven't done is, in referring to the 0.5 FTA, the fifth paragraph down, the remaining necessary tasks get divided into two distinct skill sets, production and programming coordinator and a marketing specialist, and require an additional 0.5 FTE. So, I mentioned that again on the second page in the third paragraph, but I haven't fleshed this out, and I don't think enough. If we are still using that chart with the marketing specialist, I think it needs some tweaking in terms of putting that title into some of these tasks. Also, with respect to the what the Hearth has done, separate from this ask, in terms of letting council know that this is resources that are fully within the control of the Hearth. So it's a separate 10,000 a year, and it's all of the other things that the Hearth has set up so that we can start the clock ticking with respect to these other applications, and letting them know that that's sort of the minimum amount that is available that can start this off, but it's not enough. So, if they're talking about, I don't know, I can't remember what your numbers were, but it's 10,000 from the foundation, and I think it was another 10 or 12,000 from your staffing and changing the requirements around. So I think the council needs to know that what funding that you have, you're committed to it, plus all of the volunteers. And there's nothing in here in terms of the Performing Arts Committee. And I think that in terms of this chart and the responsibilities that that committee is volunteering for, that needs to be brought to their attention as well and emphasized. Um, so I've got a few other little pedantic kinds of spelling things, but the very last page, I'm Mimi gave me a copy of a contract that her friend up in Roberts Creek had for the position, and it's a really good, it's not entirely on point, but it's really good in terms of some of the ideas. And I put some of them into this last page, but I don't think this should be part of the submission at this point. And I think if we're going for budget, if we get it, then, we can maybe refer, it's a decision that we can talk about, but the kinds of things that would be in a contract, I think it's important for council to know that we've been thinking about it, but we've been working on getting this funding thing sorted out, and that we've got a whole lot more to do in terms of some of the terms that we would think appropriate for the contract. And I don't think we're ready to go through that kind of a discussion and go through the details. But I don't know whether we should give them a hint that this is the kind of thing that we're thinking about, or if we agree that these are the kinds of things we're looking for. And I don't think it's necessary for the funding application. But I think they need to know that I think they've got confidence in the work that we're doing and the detail that we're going through and the kind of professionalism that we're giving them. And I think that they're at a point where they can trust us to come up with something that they'll be able to talk about. But, this is like a hint of the kinds of things we'll get at as opposed to having anything concrete. So,
Amy, I saw a hand earlier.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, yes, we do have the $10,000 in the endowment fund. Those funds will go towards, they will at this point go towards a live arts coordinator, and then eventually will go towards the programmer. But the marketing specialist is only 8 hours per month, and that comes from the endowment fund. That person will be paid for those 8 hours per month. So that's the only funding that we have to contribute to this new temporary part-time position.
right, but the funding that was there originally for Kathleen, didn't that get reallocated in terms of the
That's the marketing specialist.
Yeah.
It's just a same position, just a new person.
Yeah.
So that's 10 hours a week.
So that paragraph is talking what the Hearth is contributing. So there's the 10,000 and the reallocated staffing budget, and you mentioned a corporate sponsor, so that you've got the two positions. You're calling it a live arts, but we had there's some discussion in terms of whether that is going to morph in. It is what it is now, but it's going to morph into the production and programming coordinator, right?
Yep.
So that's setting that up basically advances the eligibility timeline. That's how we can get into the June and September and fiscal years and all of the other discussion we had earlier, right? So I think it's accurate. And I think they need to know that the Hearth is putting in everything that they can, plus, the website, plus the volunteers, plus, and somehow or other, I think we need to get PAC in there as well.
Okay. Councilor Gady, what are your suggested next steps? Do we need more time to work on this, or?
What is the timeline, Kristen, for getting this in? We've canceled the February the 10th meeting, and we want to get but that's the deadline for getting a submission to council or to the, I guess, Sophie in terms of making sure it gets on the agenda for the 24th?
Yeah, I think the 24th meeting would be the preferable one, and that date will be the Tuesday, almost 2 weeks. So next Tuesday, I think, would be the deadline for that agenda.
Okay, yeah, the 10th. So 2 weeks ahead. So, and that is, if we miss that, then what happens with the budget timeline?
It could go to the next one in March, so March 10th.
All right, so I guess if there's another draft of this that this committee wants to endorse and present, then we either have to have another meeting. I need some input in terms of what you'd like to have included, added, and help with describing the PAC, and whether we can have another meeting before the 10th to agree to this. And we don't necessarily have to have a public meeting, do we?
If you're making a recommendation to council, it's
We do, okay. But it could be like a quick Zoom or something.
sure.
Yes?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
That's just people's time. So if you like it the way it is, without any of those additions, then we can endorse it now. If you think that it needs some more polish, then let's talk about that. I can get it done. If the council meeting is canceled for the 10th, I can certainly get it done before the 10th.
Jillian?
Councillor Getty, wondering about the format of this document and if we should switch it around a little bit to put into the template for staff reports to council. So that it's following a familiar structure and that has, so essentially for those who aren't as familiar with them, there's always the summary, the recommendation, the history, the financial implications, and essentially like the core of it, what are you asking for? So if we put it into that format, perhaps the information is best taken up in that, because there's a lot of content in here, right? I actually feel that it's maybe with some of those additions, but I think it's very strong. I'm feeling like it's quite strong even without a whole lot added, but I think it would be BIM staff to assist with putting that in that staff format if that's the way that we think it should be presented to council.
Is that you?
Well, that's what I'm not entirely sure. I think it's me. I think it's you and I at council, wouldn't it be? Sometimes I'm not sure if it should be staff or should be a councillor presenting from a committee.
Well, getting it into the format would be, I'm not sure that I've ever used it, so that would be very helpful.
Yeah,
And
or Julie and I can help with that too.
Okay, perfect.
Kristen, did you have something else to add?
I do. I wanted to, I don't feel like I'm really clear on the contribution provided by the Hearth, so I feel like I know that there's commitment there for the 10,000 or whatever the investment distribution is, but I'm not 100% sure that there's any commitment beyond that. So I wondered if we could just get that confirmed from the Hearth representatives now.
I think that the 10K every year is being applied, and corporate sponsorships right now, we only have one, and it would be at $3,000. And so that's what we have currently. And I think that the statement that there's 10,000 more being contributed, this is what needs to be clarified. 10,000 more does pay the marketing specialist, but not for the activities of the community center theater. It's for, it does support that position, but not specifically for the website. There's that 10,000, what is it total?
Can't think of it. It's
12,000.
it's about $1,000 a month. we pay that position. 500, no, 5 times 4, 2,000 a month. We pay the marketing specialist.
So maybe I'll ask my question another way. So will the marketing specialist be supporting the promotion of the community theater space at all?
Yeah. for
Yes.
2 hours a week.
2 hours a week, not her full job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've taken the marketing specialist position at 10 hours a week. Check my notes, 10 hours a week. And we've increased it by 2 hours a week to include promoting the Bowen Theater.
Okay, thanks.
That's only 2 hours a week, so it's very minimal what they can do in those 2 hours. And that money to pay the extra 2 hours is coming from the endowment fund,
So sorry, what is the endowment fund?
10,000.
So we're not getting 10,000 towards the position, we're getting
A little less.
less than 10,000. Is that what you're saying?
So the rest of it is going to the live arts coordinator, which is,
So then we're not getting the full distribution plus 2 hours, we're just getting the full distribution.
the full distribution plus the corporate sponsorship allows for the live arts coordinator position plus these 2 additional hours on top of it added to grow the marketing specialist position. Does that help? So it's 13 instead of 10.
But just for this next season, that's not in perpetuity.
But what Judy is trying to do is demonstrate the support that the Hearth is bringing to help the council be interested in giving.
Just in this season. It's not
So there's a
guarantee.
corporate sponsorship in 2025 of 3,000. Thank you, most generous corporate sponsor.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there is whatever the distribution is from the endowment fund. But
Yes.
with the caveat that 2 hours a week or a month,
A week.
2 hours a week funded through that will be dedicated to direct promotion, and whatever's left will be used to fund this contract position.
No, there won't be anything left. I think 2 hours a week will just be enough to promote what's going on at the Bowen Theater.
I'm not talking time, I'm talking distribution. So
Uh-huh.
what does it cost? What's 2 hours a week cost?
It's about $30 an hour, so.
Okay, so. And
It's-
does this person work 12 months a year?
Yes,
So if the distribution was $10,000, $3,120 would go to support 2 hours a week of promotion time. And the remainder, 6,900 and 880 would go to support this contract position.
Yes.
Okay, that's clear to me now. Thank you.
that's the full contribution from the Hearth, at least the financial contribution.
Jillian, did you have something you wanted to say?
No.
Through the
You wanna
chair,
ask, like, yeah.
well, we prepared sort of a draft resolution recommendation. Is there a possibility of sort of approving this in principle and then edits could be made and shared by email with the edits being trusted by the group that they would reflect this, but the,
Oh, that we're ready.
okay.
I am cognizant of that February 10th submission date. I do want
Think it
to
has
get
be
this
very-
moving.
I get that, but I think it
Yeah.
has to be very clear on responsibilities and the financial part of it. I don't think is totally laid out in this document.
I think that draft recommendation almost captures it. It's just missing the sponsorship piece.
Why don't I share just for you to see what was sort of prepared for discussion? Is this the one?
I think.
We see anything yet?
There it is, in the sponsor.
We're just being quiet because there's an important conversation happening on this.
Did you want to say something?
I missed that.
I did too.
I'll let Gail make the final decision on this document. Pass it in principle.
I mean, if we're passing it in principle and what we're saying is that the Hearth is contributing $13,000 annually for the next 2 years. Is that what we're saying? That the Hearth is contributing in dollar figures, 13,000, 10 being the endowment fund, and 3,000, a minimum of 3,000 of fundraising to this position for the next 2 years. And then over and above that is volunteer hours. Is that what we're asking? Because if that's what you're asking us to put in, I think we can easily sign off on that at this meeting.
Except we agreed that it isn't actually 10,000. It's more like what Kristen said, more like 7, because some of that is going to go towards marketing specialists.
That's what we're talking about, the total,
Okay.
right? The total. Is that correct? We're talking the total financial contribution? Thanks, Jillian.
Shelley?
I don't think it's fair to ask anybody to sign off on something that we're still going to revise on. Yes, I don't think that this is a fair position for the Hearth to be in making this decision on the spot, right, like this. So what I think we could do, I think without doing a whole lot of editing of the document, but purely sort of moving it around to go into that staff report structure, that Kristen and I could do that work fairly quickly. Because we're not changing what's written here, we're just putting it in a different order. And then maybe it comes back to then working with Judy and a member from the Hearth, make sure that it's accurately reflecting the intentions and commitment of the Hearth. And then we're able to move forward with that. And I think perhaps we can get that done before the submission next Monday. Am I too ambitious? I just want to get this.
So then we would have to have another meeting between now and the 10th to do our ratification of that.
Right.
It could be a Zoom.
Yeah, we could do a Zoom. We could do just maybe next Monday and get it in on Tuesday.
But if we have our meeting on Monday, then we miss that 10th deadline unless we're going to the next submission date.
I think we can squeeze it in.
Councilor Getty?
It's Tuesday, the 11th.
Oh, Tuesday the 11th. Okay, so
I guess what I was trying to do here was to spell out to council that there's there is this new money and then there's existing services. So, the Hearth is contributing with respect to the what do you call it? The little bit of money that you pay to the volunteer coordinator, and you've got a person on staff, and you've just rearranged some things so that you've had Kathleen that is managing a website. You've got a website, and you've got a client list that it goes out to, and those are the kinds of things that are mentioned here, and they have a dollar value. So it's not new money, and maybe that's the distinction, but I'm a little bit confused in terms of, and I would like, I hear a little bit of confusion in terms of what Gail and Jamie are talking about and whether or not it's the full 10,000 from the foundation that's being used for part of this, or it's, you know, I'm not sure in terms of whether it's 7 or 10 or 13. So I think that that is something that needs to be clarified. And I think that if we don't give actual numbers, there still has to be some recognition that there's services that um, exist that are just going to be tapped into and that they have some sort of value. And that's, you know, it's like, um, where you put volunteer hours in a in-kind donation to other grant applications. So that's what I was trying to do in terms of these last three paragraphs on the second page. So, if we're talking about the endowment and the corporate sponsorship, as that's the new money that's being uh, used or allocated by the Hearth for this project. And the rest is like in-kind existing, something that we're going to be building on. So I think the tasks, and that's the third page in terms of the tasks and what we're talking about, whether or not the marketing specialist is going to have time in 2 hours a week to do some of the things that we'll need for the theater. Maybe though, we have to figure out priorities and workloads and what we think we need to have sorted out with that 2 hours a week. And if there's limitations in terms of how long the money is available, I think we need to have that an answer for that as well, if that comes up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that work with the funding kinds of things, Kristen, that you were asking?
I think so. The corporate sponsorship, as I understand, is just the 1 year. Is that correct?
And then you said 3,000 for fundraising the second year?
I think that we should include a goal of 3,000 each year for fundraising. The first year has been met. The fundraising objective was met in year one, and we should, and this is what Jamie and I need to walk away and decide, but put forward a fundraising objective of 3,000 for
Okay.
year two.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Could it then, like, if the Hearth decides that that is a goal that you want to have included, could it just be separated a little more simply? And then it is that 3,000 that's supporting the additional hours of the marketing specialist is covered that way, and leave the endowment towards that production and programming coordinator. It just looks a lot cleaner and easier if that would be something that the Hearth feels that could be a reasonable goal and position.
Thank you. That's a great suggestion. I mean, so we'll walk away from this, send a document, an email, a written email, because I think that's what you were doing here. It needs to be written and it will be clearer and more concise. And then Councillor Getty will be able to take it and apply it to her document, right?
Okay.
We will clarify and write out what we can agree to. What I really like that was just said, thank you, Councillor Getty, that the services that exist that will be tapped into include things like our volunteer base, our marketing distribution list, our Squarespace, which is what would house a website, our ED's time, and then the in-kind support of the PAC, which is at 10 to 20 hours a week. I mean, this PAC is working a lot of hours. And we will write that out for you so that you can use that. Does that help with? Yeah, thank you for the discussion. It's really clear now.
Thank you, Gail.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
All right. So what's your timeline, do you think?
Write this?
Yeah.
2 days.
Okay.
All right. So then I
Oh, yeah.
can have this circulated to everybody, probably, let me just look at this calendar. Um,
So Wednesday, the 5th, you guys can get that in?
and if
So
BC
Wednesday-
Berries is not showing up on the 7th, I think they've just changed their date again, then I can probably finish it the Friday. Ooh, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Wednesday, but yeah.
Weren't Julian and Kristen gonna do some work on that?
I can work tomorrow morning on this. I can just do it right away because as I said, it's not necessarily redoing anything,
It's
it's
the format.
reshuffling,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
tomorrow morning.
Tuesday, February 4th, Julian and maybe Kristen are gonna work on that, putting it to the staff report. By Wednesday, February 5th, we'll get a little write-up about Hearth contributions in kind and financial.
Mhm.
And on Friday, the 7th, we'll have a final sign off by Judy, or do you guys want to get together to have a little meeting for that final document? Or just by email?
I think from there, it goes back to the committee to circle it by email for ratification.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have, sorry, Friday the 7th for Judy and then the meeting on Monday? Or,
Think so.
Sure.
The Hearth has to see the whole thing.
well, to be circulated on the,
Okay, so then if we can get it done by email, by Monday morning, the 10th, then what, we've got till 4:30 to have the submissions for the agenda?
it's
Yeah,
fine
we've
if the
got till
documents.
Tuesday.
Sorry?
We've changed the agenda deadline to Tuesday.
Oh, good. Okay.
So
So
we
we
could do a
could-
meeting Monday evening.
The same for us to get it finished and agreed to during the day on Monday, and we can make sure that it gets on the agenda for the Tuesday.
Well, I don't know that we can meet during the day. We can just do a quick, like half an hour Zoom at 4:45 on Monday, or can you guys meet during the day on Monday? Yeah.
You want to do it Zoom? Okay.
I'm up on Gambier, but I should hopefully be back by 4:45, so.
Do they have Zoom on Cambia?
No, they do not.
Really?
Not where I'm going.
Oh.
I'm going up for work. So with that in mind, if I'm not back, is there ability to do proxy, like somebody could vote on proxy on my behalf?
Or you're just not here, it's
Or I'm
fine.
just not here. Okay, well, let's not worry about me from this perspective. We need to just get this done. So let's set a Zoom time. What works
For February 10th.
for the 10th?
You worker bees.
Council chambers is open all day. And
Could we do the same time we had this meeting, like at 4:45?
They're subbing that day.
Just 2 minutes here.
I can try. I'll try and rearrange my work schedule for 4:45. I don't usually work on Mondays, but I will endeavor to change my schedule.
We just need to be conscious of quorums, so
That's
for
your
this.
ski day.
No, that happens once a month if I'm lucky. No, I'm subbing for another instructor that day, but I could try and change the 4:45. I will endeavor to change.
is there another time?
Yeah,
Do you want to meet at 7 and we can do by Zoom?
I'm flexible that day.
I mean, the later in the day would be better for me.
Great.
So 7?
So do you do evening? I mean, it's gonna be a quick one, right?
Yeah.
7 is
Yeah.
Let's say
great.
7.
I could
Kim,
do
does that work for
anytime.
you?
Is that 7 a.m.?
7 PM.
7
Sorry, no, we're
p.m.
saying
is
6
fine.
PM.
6 p.m.
6
Six-
PM.
6 p.m. is fine with me.
Okay, great. Let's
Thank
do it.
you. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
accommodating me.
Better for me later too, so.
Good.
Yeah, great. Okay, we've got a plan.
Great.
Getting there, bit by bit.
We are.
Getting
So are we done 5.2 for today? Okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I only had one Well, first of all, I'd just like to say thank you for an incredible stab at this document. It's really amazing. And the only one more thing I wanted to flag and discuss is, should we be including the word catering under hosting services? I feel that that might be opening, it's a question that we should discuss, because the concession, I really like the proposal that Kristen had, where the concession becomes a fundraising opportunity for various clubs on the island. I think to ensure that the hearth or the production and programming coordinator is ready to host for catering as well as all these other production needs might be a dangerous proposition in terms of how we're using their time. But maybe I misunderstood who's doing that. It's on the, oh, sorry, final paragraph of the
Yep.
first page.
I can't, the printing's too small on the task list, but I basically was putting in absolutely everything so that they had a really good, strong impression that there was a whole lot of work that needed to be done. And I think when we get down to figuring out who the person is and how many hours we've got and what's doable, that we've got lots and lots of wiggle room. So, I think that in terms of hosting services, it could include making sure that the organization brings their own potluck brownies or whatever, right? And gets their own liquor license or does something. But it's if they want to do it, this program person is going to be part of the discussions in terms of, oh, you want to rent the kitchen as well, and you have to have this and that, the food service and the liquor service, and it's certainly something that can be talked about. And if it's not set up in terms of we don't have the staff or the volunteers to do that, so if you want to have it, you're going to have to bring in your own people, and this is what you need to understand, right? I don't think I'm laying out that it's going to be a direct responsibility, but I don't know that this person is going to have to do it.
Thank you so much for your response. I think the only reason I flagged it is that sentence ends with the word host services, including these things in parentheses, would be a direct responsibility. And maybe if we just remove that, but our would be aspects of hosting. As long as it didn't say that was maybe why I flagged.
Yeah, so it's a responsibility to coordinate the volunteers or confirm that there's adequate services will be provided by the client as part of contract negotiations. So it's sort of three options or two options. I was trying to build in wiggle room, but to have people understand that that is, something that is going to be part of events. It's part of the task list.
Perhaps if we just added coordination to after catering. Doesn't mean you're doing that.
Sorry, say again?
If we were to add coordination after the word catering, this catering coordination doesn't mean you're actually doing it, you're just helping them figure it out. Leave some of the pressure.
Okay. Well, none of those things in terms of the coordinator's not going to be there to welcome, to check the tickets, to sell tickets, to, maybe emergency support, but that's okay. It was just a list of what the host services would be, and then this would be the position that would try to help sort that out, not do it. If we don't have volunteers to, meet and greet, check tickets, then each group that comes in is going to have to provide that themselves. Right? The same as, when we do a toady thing, there's Helen Walwork and I at the door, and we check tickets and sell, do cash things at the door. But, we're not baking cookies, and we're not, we can do the smiley face and welcome people in and get them in their chairs and hand out the brochure, the pamphlets and everything. But, and Toady, if it's going to cost for extra hours for this person to help it, then Toady's not going to pay, and we're going to provide our own.
Or nothing at all. No bar, no concession.
Case by case on that.
Okay, so I'll take out the word, how about take out the word direct? and take out the comma after responsibility. Would be a responsibility to coordinate volunteers or confirm adequate services provided by the client. Say it out loud, Gail. You're nodding your head.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Got a thumbs up from Kim.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Okay, moving along.
Anything else in there that I've raised some questions? All right. If you think of something, let me know before the 10th.
Yeah. All right, are we good to move on to 6.1, other business? Is there any other business?
No other business.
There's no other business. Okay, and then question period. Yeah, we don't have anybody online, do we?
Nobody online, nobody in the room.
Well, then are we ready to adjourn? Nice and early. Kim's
Motion to
clapping.
adjourn.
Thank you. All right, I move to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Well done. Look at us move.
Thank you. We're all good.
Oh, unanimous consent. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate
Say
it.
goodbye to the Zoomers.
Thank
Bye.
you for all your work there, Judy. That was
Thank you,
huge.
Judy.
Yeah.
everyone. Thanks,
Brilliant.
Judy.
Thanks, Mimi.